MLS has passed a new cash-based internal trade system, which allows players to spend like transfer fees on players within MLS. So
you don't have to use GAM.
Yeah.
That's great news. The clubs can still use GAM, obviously.
Yeah.
Basically, the clubs are allowed to acquire up to 2 players and trade away up to 2 using this method. The amount of cash must be disclosed. And if those players were purchased as DPs or as U22s, they preserve those tags going into their new club. So, for example, like take the Mateus Klitsch deal that Atlanta United just did, right? If they've done that using this cash-based system, he would have had to be a DP. I think it's a very good first step for MLS because it opens up so many possibilities for teams to move around players within the league. It helps you get proven MLS talent, and it facilitates really clubs letting them go, in my opinion. What did New England have to pay for Leo Campana, for example? It was like 1.2 million GAM, something like that. You don't want 1.2 million GAM for Campana. You want a big transfer fee. You want the actual money. So I think that'll make the trade of those players at least a little bit easier. What do you think, Sydney?
MLS is going to call it cash for player trade, and it doesn't have to be GAM. GAM, like you said, Henry is still in play, but you can derive that cash for player trades from numerous sources, including owner investment, which is big because you're not tied to these weird league mechanisms. Like you said, you have a little bit more ability to spread your wings and, like you said, bring in players that you otherwise wouldn't be able to bring in. Tom also reported that 2 players that could be cash for player trade targets will be Evander in Portland and Acosta and Cincinnati. We, of course, know that Evander is in a spat with the Portland front office, and Acosta last year said, I don't know if I'll be back in MLS. So those are 2 players that could be on the trade block for MLS. So be interested to see how this plays out later in the year as teams look to get better, improve their clubs, how much they'll spend. And like we said, you can do it twice. You can trade for players twice. You can send out players via trade twice. So a new wrinkle to MLS rules, roster rules, and regulations. I'm sure it will be refined in later years. That number could grow to maybe 3 or 4. We'll see. But it's a big step in the right direction.
Talking about Evander, this is just a situation that I was kind of dreaming on Twitter a little bit, but it was like, imagine Atlanta United gets Evander. You push Moranchuk right wing, Saba left wing. You have Evander as the 10, and then you bring in Latte Lath as your striker.
Not saying it can't happen.
I know. I'm just in dreamland here, but like Evander's a top tier chance creator. That would not be a terrible deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Granted, I'm sure Atlanta United has their own targets, but I'm just saying that's an option now.
One can dream.
I would be shocked if they move the $13 million DP out of the number 10 spot. I mean, now if it works, it works. Like you don't know till you try. And I'm sure at some point this season, there's probably going to be times out of necessity where he might have to go out wide at some point, right? Maybe whether it's tactically or prayerfully not injuries, but whatever. I'm sure we'll see him there at some point, but I just don't think default would be there. Now, put Evander on the left wing. We'll see what happens. I don't know.